This is a properly formatted sample essay. I'm hoping that you're at least reading this, if not listening to the audio part of it. But I wanted to go over some things with you on this and some problems I'm seeing on your rough drafts. First of all, I'm just going to let you glance over all of this. Now, your section number depends on what class you're in. If you're in the 2 o'clock class, it's 21803. If you're in the 3:30 class, it's 21804. What I did, this is really not an essay on JonBenet Ramsey's murderer or killer. It's actually telling you what you need to do with these paragraphs. So let me just go ahead and begin. First of all, after you put your date in here, just hit enter once. You only want double space between the date and here. And then you need to center this. So you use your center bar. And then when you're done, you go to the next line, you take it back to the left column and you tab. Now this has 6 paragraphs in it. And each one I explain different things that you could do in it. Okay, the first one is you begin your essay with an engaging lead. So it will be the first few sentences, a quote, an anecdote, a startling fact, or statistic or question. If it is just boring, I'm counting off. You should have done some research to figure out something that would hook your audience. Okay, so I noticed that I have a mistake here, and this is why you need to read your work out loud, because that is when you're going to catch your mistakes, and you may have to read it several times. We only have time for one. All right. However, first remember to set your font to Times New Roman. Insert your page number. See, that should be a lowercase p. Insert your page number. In the top right-hand corner of the page, add your last name and a space before you type in your last name. Okay, so what I'm saying is make sure you've gone to Time New Roman 12. Make sure that you go to insert page numbers. Now, yours mine's defaulted to top right hand corner. Mine looks a little bit different. If you have an apple, it looks like this. So once you get that, you need to type in your first name in front of it. Okay, and then that way it'll change the page numbers for you, and you won't have page number 1 on all your pages, which some of you have because you're inserting the header and you're not supposed to do that. Okay, so you go to insert page numbers. Just insert page numbers. That's what you do there. And add your last name and a space before you type, I would just say before the page number. And put your last name, not mine. Next, change your last number and page number to Times New Roman 12. So remember, you've typed this in, but it is not in Times New Roman 12. So you need to highlight that and you need to change that. You end this paragraph with your thesis and 3 supporting points. For example, Burke Ramsey most likely killed his sister. That's your thesis, albeit accidentally. So I added that in there. Based on the strange stories surrounding the bowl of pineapple, his convincing reenactment of how his sister was struck when she was killed, and because he had consistently showed aggression toward his sister in the past. All right, that's your introduction paragraph. Now, again, this is not an essay. It's taken the form of an essay to show you how to write it. The second paragraph. of your essay is your topic sentence, and it's the first main point of your thesis. So your first main point is the mystery surrounding the bowl of pineapple. So you might say something like this in the topic sentence. In other words, this sentence right here, you might write this. The stories surrounding who ate the pineapple and who did not seemed to shed suspicion on the boy who was tired of his sister getting into his business. Okay, and then you could say something like this. Your paragraph, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm going to take that out. I'm going to take that out. See, it's so good to read this out loud. Your paragraph should run about 6 to 7 sentences long with reasoning and evidence that support your first main point. I might quote Schiller's documentary here. Okay, and this is an in-text citation. Regarding the pineapple, going to put a comma. This is a complex sentence. There you go. Patsy vehemently maintained that Jonbenet was asleep and could not have eaten anything after her father tucked her in for the evening. Okay, now what I did, because, and you notice there are no quotation marks because I paraphrased it, but I told you where I got it, and I could go down to works cited and find exactly where it was. Okay. Note that I paraphrased here, so I have no quotation marks. Now the next paragraph is going to be your second main point. So begin the third paragraph with a transitional sentence that ties the previous point into this one. For example, you think Burke killed his sister, and your main points are the story surrounding the bowl of pineapple, his enactment of hitting her, all of this. Okay, after talking about the bowl of pineapple, you would transition to the reenactment of hitting Jonbenet. So for this sentence, which is your topic sentence with your second main point, this is what I'm asking you to consider. Starting right here. While the strange circumstances surrounding the bowl of pineapple are compelling, Burke's enactment of how the killer would have struck Jonbenet is disturbing. I might even like this word better. It's revealing. Okay, so this right here, then, you would put as your first sentence, and it would tie in the previous point up here to this point here. And now you're going to continue talking about the reenactment or the enactment. Okay. And then you would go on to elaborate with reasoning and evidence. So consider this where you have given the author's name and only have to cite the page number. This is another way that you can do your in-text citations. Okay, so another interesting point of view is offered by author Vicki Bain. Now that's a point, that's the top of your sandwich. Okay, and now here is the paraphrase. After multiple interviews with friends and acquaintances, Bain concluded that the family had closed ranks within hours of their daughter's death. Okay, so I've already said her name. Okay, so you know to go look over here to find where it was that I cited that. All right, so I'm gonna go back up here. Okay, go back up. All right. Now, again, I paraphrased it, but if you have the author's name in here, then all you put is the page number. Now, let's go to the fourth paragraph. And remember, this is your counter argument. Refer back to the thesis because you're arguing that Burke is the killer. Your counter argument, including transition, might read something like this. So this is where that could be the topic sentence of your counter argument, which is your fourth paragraph. Inasmuch as no one has confessed to this horrible crime, no matter how convincing the case is against Burke, the possibility remains that an intruder was the perpetrator. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the intruder theory and who that might have been. In this paragraph, you might choose to talk about other suspects. Do not downplay this theory. Don't make it look like you're just throwing that in there because the teacher is making you. You've got to show that you're a fair person, that you give credence to both theories. Maybe you give credence to all three, but you feel more strongly or the most strongly about Burke. But do make it look legitimate. Give it equal attention to your other 3 points. One such quotation could go something like this. According to A. James Kohler, author of Foreign Faction, the mother of one of Jonbenet's friends remembered Jonbenet talking about, quote, a secret visit remember Jonbenet talking about a secret visit Santa who had promised to make, or to oh boy. Okay, this is, I messed this up. Jonbenet is talking about a secret Santa who had promised, I think it was meet. Yeah, it was meet her. Okay, so this actually is not Bain. It's Kohler. So Kohler, let's say Kohler's article is mentioned in Bain, okay? Then you just say quoted in Bain. And I know that I'm going to look for Kohler's name, but it was on page 46. So if you're quoting somebody else, that's what you need to do. QTD period, and it should be a lowercase in Bain. This caused some of those in the district attorney's office to consider the neighborhood Santa, Bill McReynolds, as a viable suspect. Okay, so you do have your sandwich here. It's a pretty lean sandwich. You probably want to put a few other people in there. And you can paraphrase or you can quote. All right, now we're going to the 5th paragraph. So we're almost over. You're going to use your strongest main point there. So the 5th paragraph is your 3rd and strongest main point. You would begin with a transition similar to this. Okay, remember the transitions provide a smooth flow to your essay. And you have to have them in here. So this is your first sentence of your 5th paragraph. Now, while I'm saying this, I don't want you to use these verbatim. You can reword it however you want to do it, but you got the gist of it. Even though Lou Smith points out valid evidence that supports the intruder theory, one thing cannot be ignored, Burke's past aggressive behavior toward Jonbenet before. I'm going to take that out. That's redundant. When I say previous and before, it's the same thing. You would support with reasoning and evidence. Perhaps one of the quotations used in this paragraph would be this. Ms. Phillips, a photographer and family friend of the Ramseys, recalled how, quote, Burke had hit his sister with a golf club a year before her murder, leaving her with a scar on her cheek. I found this from Iguidon, I guess it's Iguidon, and that was an HTML. There is no page number. So that's that. Now we're going to go to the conclusion. Okay, this is your sixth and final paragraph. Begin it with a restatement, not the same words as the thesis, but similar. Conclude with the bigger picture. Talk about how it is relevant on a larger societal scale. Consider a quote from one of your four sources in your conclusion or introduction for that matter. One reason why this case might remain a mystery for all time boils down to the revolving door of visitors with access to their Ramsey house. I put a colon, now I'm putting a quote. Employs those with keys and still undetermined number of people in the house on the night of the murder. Pazer. Okay. So, and then when I go over here, I look at Pazer and I know where to find them. As you revise and edit the essay, which I did on purpose because I want you to see, you've got to read it out loud. I guarantee you, if I read it out loud again, I would find more mistakes. So I would give it a 2 or 3 times over after you finish. As you revise and edit this essay, make sure that all sources are on your works cited and they're used in the body of your essay. Make sure that your in-text citations are properly cited. See the little seagull book? Remember, you're going to italicize books and magazines. Add my notes on this before turning in. Okay, so looking here, it looks like, there we go. It looks like my works cited had slipped down a little bit. It needs to go as far up to the top as it can. Notice that I've done this, and notice that I don't have EBSCO host in there. I have academic search complete with a comma in italics. I added this one. I had to do this one on my own. So let me put a period there. If you need help formatting, you can talk to me. There are different things that you can use, citation.net. I would use the academic search complete because they do it for you. So you know you're not going to get it wrong. You just have to go back and make sure that it's formatted. Now, you should have 4 sources. Okay, get that again, because remember we had 2 and I told you you needed 2 more. Some of you said, well, I only used one of the other one. Well, that's fine. Get 3 on your own. They have to be legitimate, because if I do not feel, well, if it's a well-known paper like the Washington Times, the New York Times, you got to understand, especially politically, they're going to be more left-wing. But for something like this, I think it would be fine. Or the Boulder, Colorado News. Now, another thing that you need to do, remember I said you need to make sure that you have mentioned these people up in your paper. So this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I suggest you do. I'm going to edit, I'm going to find. And a little box pops up. So I'm going to put Bain's name in there, and every time it's mentioned, okay, here it is here, and I quoted it, it's going to pull her name up. Okay, here's another one. So I've used her twice. Okay, I might want to just copy and paste this person's net, well, or not. So I make sure that I spell it right. Because if you're 1 letter off, okay, and I'm doing a Control V. Okay, how many times did I cite this person? Okay, I don't find it, but I do know that I used it. So I must EGG, IGG, IGGUIDEN. Should have done that. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Maybe it's because of the comma. Well, for some reason that didn't work there. It did last night. But anyway, I went up here to check it, and it is there. There it is, right there. Okay, so let's go to Payzer. Okay, there's Payzer, and there's Payzer there. So the next question is, does Payzer have a page number? You know what it does? It's on page 46. Ms. Holland's going to check that, so I better put it in up here. I'll put 46. Oh, 46. With a space. Okay. Now I'm going to go to Schiller. Okay, he's down there, which is where I want him to be. Okay, here he is here. Did I cite it? Yes, I did. Any more? You can hit return or the next arrow. Okay, so I have him once in here. So I'm good to go, and I have cited them properly. So I have all 4 of these. I'm going to type this one in and see if I can find it. Oh, wait. Is there an I in there? I had too many D's. Sorry. Okay, so there it is. So it's mentioned there, and it's mentioned here. Okay, that should be the way that it's spelled. You know what? It does just have 1 D. Yeah, make sure. That's the nice thing about having academic search complete, because it already spells it right. Okay, there are 2 G's in it. All right, so that's the end of that. Again, 4 sources, 6 paragraphs. If you give me just a bunch of links, I told you I'd give you a 0. I think the highest you might get is a 50. And that's if you do well on the rest of the paper. You need to take time. This is not something that you could do in an hour. It's going to take several hours. Even after you finish it, you're going to have to go back over and over it. If you want a good grade. If you don't, well, that's up to you. Anyway, happy writing.